Do you know how peace is accomplished? Through war. The reason I say that is I received a cease and desist in regards to the podcast yesterday to basically shut it down. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to read it on the podcast, but listen very carefully because what I'm about to do is very important. I'm standing up, taking the cease and desist in my left hand. In my right hand, I'm pulling my pants down. And now I'm wiping my ass with the cease and desist. That's going back in an envelope and being returned to sending back to return to sender. A piece of paper is not gonna keep me quiet. The only way you're gonna shut me up is if you rip my tongue out of my mouth. What it comes down to in life is you have two options: fight or flight. I'm way too out of shape to start running now, so my only option is to fight. And regardless if I'm fighting for me or somebody else or anybody, I'm always going to fight for what's right. And this podcast it's not for me. This podcast is for anyone who's been hurt, stolen from, raped, abused, you name it. This podcast is for you. If you'd like to share your story anonymously in person, give me some feedback or tell me about your experience. And, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it, I can talk about it for you. So that way, at least what happened to you is heard. Well, that's one hell of an open. Today we're going to do something different. We're just going to wing it. I don't have anything outlined or anything. I'm just going to go. Also, I want to thank everybody that's been listening. We hit 1,000 listeners yesterday, which is insane. We had like 16 the first episode, so having 1,000 means there's 1,000 people out there that know what's going on in the rehab industry in some parts of it. And also, I do want to say there are a lot of great places out there that you can send your kid or wife or whoever to treatment. Just do your research. The ones I'm talking about are just the ones owned by fucking cunts. The other day I was driving and I was thinking to myself how this is the first time I've been with somebody who's not an addict, who's what we would call normal. And the difficulties with that in regards to myself. On her end, she's great. I don't know how she has the patience to deal with me because most of the time I can't even deal with me. The fact that she doesn't hate me is crazy because I hate me a lot of the time. I hate me so much I want to kill myself sometimes. And when I express that to her, she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." Well, yeah, I'm crazy. And I feel like sometimes it's like, why is that person with me if I'm so damaged and broken? Why is that person with me when if I hate myself, they have to hate me, right? It's just something that continuously runs through my mind. Why would somebody want to date somebody that's broken when they're not broken? And from my past experiences of dating broken women, I've always gotten broken results, terrible results like chaos and, like World War 12. I mean, those were my results. And it's different now. It's calm, it's stable, which I'm not. And it makes me question myself because I'm constantly thinking like, okay, that person's normal and I'm not normal. And what do they think about me? What are they thinking in their head when I tell them that, I've wanted to kill myself or I don't like who I am a lot of the time? What does that person think? It makes it hard. And I mean, the end result is a lot better than my past end results, which ended terribly. There isn't an end result yet, but this is a first for me. So I'll talk about it every now and then, how I'm dealing with it and how it's going. But it's tough on the brain when you're a broken man or woman. Today, I'll have a story in a moment. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. Also, if you'd like to participate in the show, please email me at craig@onetimeinrehab.com. Once again, that's the word one, not the number, ONE. We are also sponsored by Sad Future Clothing, t-shirts, socks, hats that are the opposite of a motivational company, a company that says, screw your live, laugh, and love signs, go fuck yourself. Look them up on Facebook at Sad Future. And also, thank you to Anchor for sponsoring every one of our podcasts. We'll be back shortly with the story. Email me, give me some feedback, and thank you to the 1,000 people that have listened to the podcast. Be back shortly. If you're listening to this right now, please know that I'm using Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Anchor's free. It's got creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. I've been using Anchor for about a week, and I've completely figured it out. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Don't be an idiot. Get on board today. Today's story is called Boy at Rock Bottom. The story starts in detox at a state-run facility. This boy had no insurance or financial means and very little family to help him. So the only place he was able to get into was a state-run facility that did somewhat detox. I mean, they basically watched you, so in case you were going to die or had a heart attack or a seizure. Once completing, the boy was very optimistic about staying sober. He was all about it. He had nowhere to go, though, and he was homeless. So the last thing he wanted was to get discharged from the detox facility, because having nowhere to go and being freshly sober is extremely scary. Luckily, a family member was able to help him out, and she took him in. She worked in the industry and was able to pull some strings and get him a scholarship at a really nice sober living facility. He was excited. The next morning, he packed his bags with the 3 shirts and a pair of flip-flops he had that had holes in them, and he was dropped off there. Beautiful place. Once walking into the office, he was informed that he'd have to spend 2 weeks at another sober living facility before they would let him live at their sober living facility, because he didn't go to treatment, which there was no chance because he had no insurance and couldn't afford it. With that being said, the boy had no idea what was, anything about treatment or rehab or halfway houses. So he threw his bag in the guy's car and went with them like 4 blocks away and was dropped off in front of just a house in the hood. He had no idea what's going on. He goes in. The house manager, I guess, who owned the place, gave him a drug test, showed him where his bed was, and left. He was in the house with 5 other drug addicts in the hood. No idea who they were, what to do, how to stay sober, what meetings to go to, or what meetings even were. After talking to the guys in the house for a few hours, he realized, or he was told, that everybody in the house was using. Him being freshly sober, he was like, all right, let's party. Over the course of that night, they went through, the roommates and him, heroin, shooting flocka, Xanax, Dilaudid, and more Xanax. The last thing the boy remembers is puking on the front lawn of the place and waking up with the sun out, face in puke. First thing he did was he called his aunt and asked for help. He was still extremely groggy and had no idea what was going on. Luckily, she came and got him, and she got him into a nice facility. The reason I tell that story is because, he's lucky he didn't die. How many people are thrown into that situation and end up dying? I mean, you can't just drop somebody off at a house in the hood and expect things to be okay. I mean, that's just a cash grab. That story is actually my story. That was how I initially got sober. I went to a state-run facility. Shout out to DAF. Your ham, macaroni, and cheese sucks. You should probably take that off the menu. But yeah, that's how it started for me. And I guess my first step into recovery was not a good step. It was like stepping in dog shit. That was my first step into recovery. But yeah, halfway houses in the hood, or it's I don't get how you can sleep at night owning one of those places and knowing that's going on. But luckily, I think I'm somewhat alive, and it was scary, but I learned a lot from it. I learned that you shouldn't put flocka in your arm. That's what I learned from it. Well, that's the story today. I know it kind of sucked. I just winged it. I wanted to tell my story, so at least you guys got to know me a little bit more, and I'll divulge more details as time goes on. Also, if you want to share your story or anything, email me at craig@onetimeinrehab.com. We'll be right back for the conclusion of our show. Thank you for listening. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Sad Future, who you could find at Sad Future on Facebook. Great clothing. Also, Anchor, the platform which this is being recorded on, was our first sponsor. And Spotify for making all of this possible. To sum up the show, the only way to achieve peace is through war. Individually fighting, we can only be as strong, but coming together, we're a lot stronger. There's a lot more fists to punch. There's a lot more strength. I hope you guys have a great day. I'll be back next Thursday. Keep looking out on the podcast. We'll be incorporating video over the next couple weeks. And other than that, have a great day. This is Craig Tasman. This is That One Time in Rehab podcast. Love you guys. Bye.